just sit yourself up straight and tall. So that spine supports you. You can even use your hands. Sometimes pushing on the floor is the way to go to help lift the ribs. You keep those hands kind of where they can help your shoulders come back and shoulder blades come down. See how they sensed it. They can be right beside you. Now, also, this is hands on knees here. You see this with the arms stretched out. This is another classical way of working. This is very long, accepted. So with that arm straight, it presses down, but it also draws back to the shoulder. So there is a lifting and opening of the top chest. This position, I think, is easier to get a handle on broadening the collarbones, lifting the chest. Now, can you keep that height? And can you release the arms from the skull, from the spine? Join your palms. Close your eyes. Draw your attention in. In this quiet, upright, mindful state, pay homage to your practice and to the root teacher, Patanjali, who made it possible. Bow to this practice. And release your hands, raise your head, and open your eyes. And stretch your legs. Okay, now, yes, we'll go, thank you, mute. Lie flat at first. Now, lying flat, we usually associate with sleep. So just to put the kibosh on that, do not go to sleep. Make sure there's room overhead to stretch your arms and room at your feet to stretch your legs. So you need a full length of view for this pose. So you lie flat, tuck your shoulders flat. And you know, if you take your arms forward, remember when you were sitting cross-legged and you pulled those shoulders back, you can take your arms up and pull that shoulder back. And stretch your legs. Don't disregard the arms, but don't stretch the arms yet. Just stretch your legs. Now stretch your legs mainly through your exhalation. And in that exhalation, you don't give up the effort of the muscle. But as you exhale, you will feel this kind of subsidence. And it's it's a whole body subsidence. Take your thighs toward the floor as you exhale. Take the exhalation toward the spine as you exhale. Legs toward the floor. Exhalation, you're not flattening your spine, but it's like the muscle of the leg goes to the floor, and stretch that body along the floor, even going so far as to about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. Pick up that thigh from the floor, not necessarily the heel. Press the heel and just loosen that leg from the floor and stretch it again. Incorporate the length you are gaining. Now, take your arms toward the ceiling again, so I see your arms poking up, and stretch your fingers toward the ceiling and draw the shoulders toward the floor. And then stretch your arms overhead. I'll say that, and I'll say if you get a catch in the shoulder, feel free to bend your elbows and get rid of trouble. Now, go back to the legs for a moment and recruit and subside. And with the arms now, you begin building the same extension. Stretch your fingers, wrists, elbows. Stretch from the root of the arm, which is the spine, the root of the leg, which is the spine. The root of the leg is all the way up in the lumbar spine. The root of the arm goes all the way down to the pelvis. Stretch from the roots in the spine. And then stretch from the root of the action in the mind itself. Spread to the floor and along the floor. The shoulder goes to the floor. The wrist goes to the floor. Maybe the elbow has a carrying angle in it. This is not a problem. You're not supposed to flatten that, but send your bones, muscles toward the floor. Muscles. Send your nerves to the floor. And spread. Now, come out. Bend your elbows. Bend your knees. Roll to the side. Stand up. Then, this is the honor system. I know it's hard for you to get a camera angle that shows you full length. So I trust you. Stand with your feet apart in Namaste. Sama meaning even, and Stitihi meaning steady, stable, like you are established on this floor. So stand there and stretch the leg. You get a stretch from the knee, you get a stretch from the hip, you get a stretch from the top pelvis, get a stretch from the kidney, and stretch your arms away from the spine. Now, stretch arms and legs away from the spine and skull. Take your arms out. Now, the way you get your arms up is according to your shoulders. So I'm taking my arms wide. You may wish to move your arms forward and up. Some of you with shoulder injuries, you do better with the elbow bent to keep the shoulders safe, and then the arm stretches up. Please protect your shoulders, but get the arms up. Now in this upright position, you have to figure out to do the same thing that you did on the floor. Get into that back leg, get into that back body and stretch it on an imaginary floor. Don't puff forward doing a back bend. Extend that spine. Go up tall, keep the arms apart, stretch tall. And exhale, come out. One more time, this time with the fingers interlocked. Now, if you have trouble going up this way from shoulder point to view, you can take your arms up and then interlock. Typically, we do it from the beginning. Draw those shoulders back, away from the skull, away from the spine, and you come up. So your head, neck, and throat stay neutral. Come to the back body. Now it's this surface of the wrist that's going toward that imaginary floor and up. Pull up your lumbar spine right in the middle here. This section is going to feel like it concaves a bit as you get taller. Let that happen. If it is pain-free and the muscles are opening. Bend the elbow, change the interlock, pull up. Pull up. And exhale, come out. Now, a chair. And you want it on the floor, not a sticky mat, so that you can slide it. You need some slidability. So if you need a sticky mat for your feet, you just put the chair off the end of it. I can work on my floor. So here's the deal, just so you see the range of work. Again, that sticky mat, Pratima there, that sticky mat needs to be able to slide a bit. It needs some room to move amid your pose. I do not know if you see this, but there's a little spot on my wall. It's a big spider. I've been watching him. You can see him if you have good vision. Okay, so look, here's the procedure. Tadasana. Right foot forward, left foot back. Set yourself up for both Virabhadrasana 1 and Parshvottanasana coming forward, but we're going to work these poses, so won't happen fast. So you need forward sliding room, and you need room to stand back behind you. Now, if your balance is an issue, like mine is, as often as not, I put my back heel to a wall. And that is the anchor of my balance for this pose. So please arrange yourself for that. Now, standing, hands to the hips, bend the knees, and step that foot back and your front foot forward, and adjust the length of your pose facing the chair. Turn the hips square. Now your first job is to stretch those legs locally. That is the foot, heel, then the shin, then the thigh, then the buttocks, then the low back and groins are stretching. Now your front foot, same. Now your arms stretch down, and then they come up, and you lengthen that trunk. So you're already in this mildish back bend. You don't have to make a big one, but take the extension that's offered. Stretch up, breathe. Now you look forward, the hands go to your hips, you keep that spine open as you come forward. Now watch me for a second. My hands go to the top of that chair, top of the chair, back. With the arms straight and the hands pushing, I can lift my trunk up, open that front spine. The arm can push down on the chair, and pulling backward, it actually moves my chest forward. Keep weight on those feet. Now, you can move the chair forward and keep stretching. You can move the chair forward and keep stretching. Open those ribs. You can go quite far this way with the hands on the top of the chair. Keep that shoulder socket going back. Keep the breath on the back body. Now, lower the hands to the chair seat, pull the chair in close to you, brace your feet on the floor, and come up. Chair away, step forward. Stand there. Get straight. Take side two. Bend the knees. Step back. Step back. If there's a wall behind you, you have to kind of hunt for it politely. Then begin standing. So you're getting back this sense of Namaste, this evenness on both feet, shins, thighs, buttocks. Both legs extending from the root in the spine, and the brain, the arms stretch. You keep facing forward as the stretch sort of matures a bit. Now the arms come up to the sides or forward. This is your choice for those shoulders. Now take the back bend that your legs offer, that your arms offer. Create extension. And that's all. Then the hands go to the hips. You keep that extension, keep the grounding through the feet, and you come forward to the top of the chair back. Now reset those legs, square the hips, and press down on that chair. You see how my shoulders are above chair level. That's because I'm super working on this thoracic spine extension, front, back, and sides. Then the chair goes forward and forward as far as it can. Keep those shoulders safe. Don't put pressure on them. This is a continuous action. Hands pressing down so the back body stays long, not saggy, extending. Now the hands go to the chair seat. The chair comes in close to you. put weight on both feet, come up, chair goes away, and you stand. Now, put a sticky mat down. If you took it up, put it back down. And you're going to take Adho Mukha Svanasana in this same sort of way, same manner. So, in the same way, seated cross-legged, you pressed down and drew back to get that chest forward. When you were in Parshvottanasana there, on the chair, your arms from the chair back and your chest was forward, or was able to move forward. Here, same thing, draw back so that front chest has a sense of openness. So this shoulder blade gets away from the skull and spine. Toes under and up you come. Keep your skull out of it. Stretch in all cases away from that brain. Away from the spine. The actions of pushing the arms forward, the legs back, lengthens the spine, lengthens all vertebrae. We have noted the anchor of the arms is way down at the pelvis. The anchor of the legs is at the rib cage. So there's even overlapping. There's no gaps in your ability of arm and leg to extend, open up that trunk. Stretch your legs fully. Make use of the breath to connect your brain to the legs. What helps that flow from the brain to the legs is the breath. What helps that flow from the spine to the limbs is the breath. Come out. Exhaling. Have a moment's rest. So then, you may, I think it might be a nice thing if you put a blanket down on your sticky mat, going across. And make sure that here's how you set it, where you set it. First, you need room for full-length legs on the floor. Then, you set this up so it's underneath your pelvis, but the pubis is on the floor. Pubis goes to the floor. So this covers your hip blades, these two hip blades, but not the pubis. If you can get that, do it. Like so. Now, so there's a tiny bit of lengthening that comes into the sacrum and low back because of this. Roll your thighs together, stretch your legs. Take your arms forward, and as we've already practiced, there is a downward push and a backward pull. And the effect of that is directly to lengthen the spine. The effect of that is directly to activate this upper part of the shoulder blade and back. So bring those shoulders down and move your whole collarbone zone forward. Now the hand comes back a bit and the elbows bend so the whole forearm is pulling and pushing, pulling back to move your chest forward and pushing down to lift it up. Now be conscious of what's going on in your abdomen. You may feel as if you're getting a bit of lordosis. Allow it if it is painless. We are looking for extension, and that front spine extends. Now stretch your legs away from the pull of the arms. Now move your elbows back. You may have to get the blanket out of the way so the forearms are roughly vertical. And you push the whole forearm on the floor. Keep your pubis on the floor. Now, let the consciousness sink to the floor and stretch. Now push your palms down and pull your ribs forward and lengthen up. Push, pull back to move your chest forward, push down to lift your chest up. Make that thoracic spine cut in. Move it in, move your shoulder blades to help. Release, come out. And then roll to your side to watch. So this blanket is just getting out of the way a little bit. So if I get my elbows back and I stretch my legs and I push with those arms, this is kind of where we left off, but I want to clarify. Some of you, the shoulder girdle isn't interacting right with the ribs. You have to make this effort to move your ribs forward. So I give this instruction that said pick up high. In a way, that's wrong. Because if you pick up high, you can't bring your chest as far forward. Watch this. Is if I let it come down. Do you see me coming down? Now I can get much more movement in that chest. Did you see that? Yes? Did you see it? Okay. So your spine doesn't want to push up. Your spine needs to go in to your body to come forward. So what is pushing up is the front spine, not the back spine. Front spine. Then you can straighten your arms. And the extension, that movement is now coming from here. Okay, and you could move your hands further back and do more. Further back and do more. So your first job is get that thoracic spine and shoulder girdle to interact correctly. So let that spine come into the body and forward. You'll feel your belly get closer to the floor instead of farther away. And then it gets closer and then it comes forward. It's where those shoulder blades now have a way of working on those back ribs. Let your head and neck be neutral, whatever that means. Now, make sure your elbows are in a useful position. Straighten your arms. Keep those legs stretched. And straighten the arms, pivoting from the pelvis. And then go back down if the coast is clear there, if that chest will in fact open with those elbows fully straight. There's some shadows on you, Vicky, and I can't tell if the arm is fully straight or not. It's just the lighting. Yeah, that looks better. Rib cage. And you go back down to the elbows and the chest, and you move your hands further back so the elbows might lift up in the first, setup, and go up again. Do this something like 5, 6 times. You can do holdings, and you can also, I would not recommend doing it just fast, like push-ups. Okay. Now, Pratima, it would be great if you could stretch your feet straight instead of turning the toes under. So being able to extend the top of the foot, putting the top of the foot on the floor. So what you've got is your heels to the wall. And I recognize the space is limited. Okay. And go where you can super stretch that leg, lengthen the ankle, lengthen the shin, stay on the floor with that leg, and bring the front spine up. Only turn the head in so far as the neck and shoulder girdle permit. Shoulders back, shoulder blades down, side ribs forward. Make it so that spine can move in. Then, treating this as your last pose of this round. So come out, please, and rest. Okay. So then, some of you can do a bigger pose. Some of you should do a smaller pose where you can work hard on this thoracic region. So let me say, oh, wait, we're going back to a simple pose, dog pose, but I want to describe it first before you start in with the pose. You can go back to your usual dog pose and recognize that the teacher, like me, like many people, often all we talk about is arms and legs, stretching from the spine, stretching, this is the outer body. Truthfully, every part of the body is doing dog pose. And everybody is every part of every body, your liver is connected to your dog pose. And if your liver is happy, your dog pose is happy. If your liver is not happy, your dog pose is not happy. Everything is connected. So I want you to look through your dog pose now in this chest and shoulder region with your senses. And you're looking not just at those muscles, but you're looking at how that breath is interacting with the lung itself, the back wall of the rib cage, the back wall of the heart, the front wall of the spine, the top of the look. You're looking very three-dimensionally. Go to your dog pose. We say lengthen the rib cage. And we say that because you do have a measure of control over the extension of the rib cage. What we don't recognize is that by means of the breath and the nervous system, if nothing else, we have a means of control over the participation of the lung and heart in this pose, the thyroid gland in this pose. By means of the senses and the breath and the clarity of your internal focus, which comes with the breath, among other things, following the breath. So look at this pose through and through. And you may see that whatever resistance there is in the pose has not just a structural component. There may be an organic component, meaning nerve, brain, lung, heart, stomach. Release, come out. So let's see. I want to do 2 minutes or so of preparation for headstand or headstand. So here's one thing that might be useful. If you put a padded front edge of a chair against a wall, and then you've got to put something heavy on the chair seat. So I'm starting out with blankets, and I'm getting my trusty sandbags. Now, if you've got a human is way better than sandbags. The human would just sit on the chair seat. That's all. They just act like a big heavy weight. So then, now, when it's time to do headstand, you get up close under that chair and you do headstand preparation. Now, I'm not especially tall, so I put my head on a blanket and that raises the floor. Watch again so you see what I'm doing here. Watch this, everybody. I have to come up high and then bring my head down to the floor. So my shoulders are being dragged down. Sorry, put this in the right place. So this skin is being caught in the right position away from my skull. So if you get in the right position, you can actually rest on that. It's almost like taking a nap. If you would like to try it, try it. It is preparation, and you cannot go up into headstand from this support. It is just meant to make you able to pass the time with your head down. So you get, if you're a taller person, you may not need that blanket under your head. And it goes somewhere, you will find out, underneath or the chair seat, more or less. And you come up off your knees. Your feet can be wide apart, Cliff. Feet wide apart. Not away from the head, just away from each other. Now, if you're close to being in this pose, I'm just going to insist that there's definitely a way of making this comfortable, like you can hang your head. And still press the forearms, lift the shoulders. So you may get in a little closer, a little farther away, feet wide apart, like Upavishta Konasana. And you're leaning on that chair. The weight is on it so it doesn't fold, so it doesn't lose stability. So if it feels like your head is too much on the floor, you just have to come out, lift up, and slide into a little better position. And press the forearms. And let that edge of the chair keep reminding you to stay clear in that spine. Now you need to learn how to press through the wrists and lift that spine and support it, ultimately independently of the chair. But I'm hoping the chair is giving you a sense of direction for those shoulders, sense of length in the spine. Come out, rest for a second. Vicky, you're in a break here. Was that a reasonable pose, Vicky? Pratima, is that
I really liked it. I needed one more blanket, and that's what I was just doing. But the second blanket is a perfect height. That's good.
Okay, great. Pratima, helpful?
Yeah, it feels very good actually on the back. The
yes.
Chair rests, yeah, here.
Yes. The chair on me rests not here, but a little bit down, but it has the effect of pulling, of letting go this very thick spot.
Yeah, it feels nice actually.
Good, good. All right, Gay, how'd you do? Cliff, how'd you do? Did you get anything out of that?
Yes, I liked it. I liked
Okay.
it. Cliff?
Yes, no problem.
No problem.
Mm.
Cliff liked
Good.
it.
Good. Okay, so that help for opening there is going to help us with the back bend shape. So now you need to do this chair back bend setup. You need bare floor underneath your, actually I take that back. You can have a sticky mat. You can have a sticky mat.
I'll send you.
Put your chair
Are we doing regular?
No, no.
on that sticky mat. Now you need some props here. I hope you have them. And if you don't, I hope you can sort of makeshift. So there's a bolster, and there is probably a blanket on that bolster to increase the tilt of the second bolster. And you have that second bolster propped up so that, can you see there's a curve that is kind of smooth. That's how high you're propping up so that you don't create a drop off. Then you take another blanket, and you might need a second one too, but or an extra one, and you put that blanket roll on top of the bolsters, and it's there, and it will be adjusted. And I'm going to say, an extra blanket never harmed anybody, having an extra blanket handy. Okay. Last thing is what to do with the other end of the pose, which is going to be your legs. You can leave the knees bent on the floor. You could prop them up on more height. You could leave them on the floor. You could put them on a second chair. You could make this very prop intensive if you had the prop. So this is where I'm choosing to say this really needs to get right. What you do with the legs is dependent on more props. Now, have a look for a second. You get your buttocks off the chair. The fleshy part of the buttocks gets off the chair, so you're on your sacrum. You have to release the abdomen and pelvis, get it long. Then you come down onto your shoulder blades and support your head and relax the inner body, pushing with the feet, rolling over the edge of this chair so that your head comes down on its roll and pushing little by little. I just come off the lower shoulder blades. That's about as far as you want to go.
You could go up maybe a little more.
And this blanket roll is meant to support the neck.
Okay.
Now, be even. Your hands can hold the sides of the chair and the elbows hang. Your arms can also go overhead.
Your back's across the chair, right?
Yeah.
Like the middle of the back.
Yeah.
Your middle back rests on that chair edge. So this, at this point, is a restful pose.
It's still hurting your back.
Okay.
Over it.
But I'll just have to go over it.
If the arms go overhead, that frequently helps the back open. Now, Pratima, I think the roll should move more toward your head.
Not you.
Yes, yes. Now keep going. Take your trunk, take your chest off the chair some more. Push over. Yeah, push toward your head with your hands and feet. You don't have to straighten your legs yet. Just push. Now move the roll. Move the roll. Get it out from under your shoulders more. Under the neck more. Yes, under the neck. So your shoulders roll off the chair and your neck is supported. Now, maybe the arms go overhead. Maybe they stay on the chair.
Arms over it.
Now, yeah, Vicky, is that happy in the shoulders? Good. Pratima, you have a wall beyond your fingers. It might be nice to just put your fingertips touching that wall, or you hold that purple brick you've got there and push it to the wall. So you've got contact with the wall. Can you make that touch the, so you've got something to stretch toward. Now, again, the pose is 3-dimensional. It's like 4-dimensional, truthfully. So there is a spine extension. There is an arm and leg extension. But there is also a lung extension and a heart and a liver and a digestive tract. There is everything. Furthermore, stretching the arms is not, as we've noted, the root of the extension of the arms is the spine, all the way up and down. That's the muscular root. But also connected is the circulatory system. So the circulation goes from the heart to the fingertips, from the heart to the toe tips. Can you feel that inner body pose, the back bend of the circulation? Can you visualize it? Can you follow it with your senses? So that extension comes from the heart. In opening the chest. You've been here a few minutes. Those of you who do better back bends, happier back bends, you may choose to pull out some support from under the head so the head hangs more vertically to the floor, or to a bolster just lower down. You can take more pose. It's your choice. And you can stretch your arms. And keep studying. What lets you go deeper in the pose is not just your spine, but it is also your heart, also your lungs, also your intestines. They are taking this pose. And if they were not happy, you would have a restriction in this extension. To the extent you do figure out where that extension comes from, it's not always muscles. It can be a nerve glitch, right? The extension of these arms comes from the brain. The extension of these arms comes from the heart. The extension of these arms comes from the diaphragm, comes from your stomach. Now, feel free to stretch your legs, last effort. They can be up in the air, they can be on the floor. If you want to go farther, you could bend your elbows, put your hands on the floor. You could take more back bend, either toward Dvipada or toward Urdhva Dhanurasana. Stretch one leg at a time or both legs. So Pratima, pick one leg off the floor and fully stretch it. Thigh heavy. Don't raise the leg high. Push that back thigh up in a chair And just stretch the knee, stretch the leg. And then change legs, that leg bends and the other fully stretches. Get the knee straight, keep your thigh on the back of the chair. Even if the foot comes off the floor, stretch the knee. Open that back knee. And Vicky, if your wrists are on that purple bolster, push them down so you get into that back shoulder blade. Back shoulder blade. All right, time to come out. Arms come out, knees bend, feet on the floor. Take stock. Come up carefully, lifting your chest. Stay seated upright on your buttocks. If you have any kind of support underneath your hips on that chair seat, if it's an irregular support, pull it out, make it even, sit straight. If your spine is tight, see that the buttocks release down, spine vertical, and let the head look down from the neck. Don't go fold from the chest or waist. So just taking your head down like Jalandhara Bandha actually lengthens that posterior ligament of the spine. It actually is the beginning of letting go of the back bend shape. And then you can come out of the chair. And probably you can clean up a bunch of this stuff because you need your sticky mat for more stuff. So clean up a bit. And get a strap. A strap. Okay, so watch. This is Jatara Parivartanasana, which is a complicated name, but it's pretty simple. So I'm going to face away from you. Hopefully you can see. So my knees bend. And I put this strap, which is a giant loop that I folded in half. And I put the loop around my feet. And the strap is in my left hand. And it's strapped around my leg. So it's now a sling. And I'm going to keep my feet together, shins together, knees together. Keep them together. And I'm going to take this twist off to the side, leaving my shoulder down. Now, this sling here makes it so that you've got a hammock for your leg. And it makes it easy to relax, or at least breathe in this pose. So you be doing this. And I'm going to show it again if you're confused from the side. Okay. So the strap goes to your left at first with the elbow up and the hand pulling. So you stay very flexed. and you roll off to your left side into that sling. And if it's not a good sling, not enough support, walk your hand down and pull more. So it can really give pretty good support there. Now breathe. Keep the knees tucked. Don't stretch your legs. Fold the knee, fold the hip. Knees close to the buttocks. Sorry, heels close to the buttocks. Knees close to the elbows. Now come up. That strap, pratima, both sides of the strap go around the outside of the leg. That becomes the sling. Change sides, keep the pelvis tucked, knees tucked. Come back up when you're ready. Sometimes this feels very good to just be in for a bit. But do it twice on each side with this support. And don't forget, as you go off to the other side, make sure your chest stays flat on the floor. So it's a twist. Keep those elbows out, shoulder height. Support underneath that knee. So bend your knees more, pratima. Fold the knee more. If your foot is like this, the belt won't give support. Fold, yes. Now it supports under that thigh. All right, did you get last side, round 2? Now, you want to do it with no strap. So you need some muscles here. These abdominal muscles are stabilizers. Now your knees may shift a little bit, but keep your toes together. Keep your shins, knees touching. And as much as you can, don't let those knees shift. Don't let them come apart. Don't let them slide like sideways from each other. Keep them together. Okay. Tuck a lot. Keep that tuck. Then, when you're done, maybe twice on each side, you come out. Okay, and last pose before we are done is Viparita Karani. So you need some blankets, maybe 2, and they're folded kind of square. So if you had a shoulder stand blanket like this, you would fold it across so it made a square-ish rectangle. And you bring it up close to your wall. Two blankets. that strap that you had, if your blankets are thin, not much height to them, you can add a third or add, you know, a half of an extra blanket. You can add height. This is not a super fixed formula, but it is Viparita Karani. So you get very close to the wall and you just roll yourself on top of that blanket and wiggle in. If you see, I'm going back and forth, I'm shimmying closer and closer to the wall. So my butt bones finally touch the wall. Now, this blanket support is not high, but if it extends far enough, it gives a spacious lift to the chest. Some of you may be able to get considerably more lift out of an extra blanket, and some of you will get a sense of something being stuck with an extra blanket. So I'm looking for optimal space, not maximal space. There has to be a sense that the abdomen is elevated above the chest, and the chest is elevated above the head. Legs elevated above pelvis. That strap can be used either to tie the feet together. That would be a classical version, keeping the legs together and vertical. If there are aches and pains in the organic body, then letting the legs be apart with a long strap is nice. In any event, keep the legs together with as little strain as possible, so you become more aware of that vertical weight settling through the hips toward the ground. And that settling should encourage the pelvis also to settle. And the lift of the blanket encourages the chest to open, even as the consciousness stays settled. Like the consciousness stays in the back brain, close to the spine, close to the sacrum, behind the heart. And because of this position, all that is in front, those lungs, the heart itself, the rib cage, is light. The organic body is settled, but not heavy. That is, if the pose is set well. there's heaviness in the throat, tuck the shoulder blades. Heaviness across the diaphragm. See if you can spread and lift the ribs. So again, as you breathe, breathe with your senses tuned into this circulatory connectivity. You can sense perhaps that little tingle of capillary action. The blood is moving. Lymph is moving. The passageways for lymph are just under the skin surface. So turn your senses to the skin and open that skin. This is mental, physical, physiological. Release the pose. Let the senses move everywhere. Now, time to come out. So you very slowly bend the elbows, bend the knees. You could roll sideways, or you could push yourself straight away. It depends. If your sticky mat is too sticky, roll. But then come out and arrange for your Shavasana. So if you need a little head support, or if you need knee support, or if you need a weight across your front thighs, that's your pose. So just as a general thing, if you put weight on the thighs, the top thighs, it tends to push the legs not just down, but also away from each other, both of which are fine. But if it's a sandbag, you lose some of the benefit of it unless you strap the ankles together. Then that weight on the legs won't push them apart. And if the legs feel like they're, they might lose this sandbag, they will subconsciously, so to speak, carry a little tension. So you want them to fully relax. So maybe you can feel that. Let the consciousness settle. soft and steady breathing. Bring yourselves back, or you may stay as you are. It is formally the end of class. So I will say Namaskar. Thank you.